this section is the inner child. As we all grew up in different worlds, cultures, spaces, parents, not parents, we didn't really have a perfect world, right? As some of us did and some of us didn't, and then we grow out of that. So I think the inner child is something that people need to have grace on, of why we are the way we are, through traumas, through trigger, through depression, through anxiety. Give someone grace, because their old version of themselves or their younger version of themselves was probably born in fear. And so I think we want to talk about the inner child. So, Chris, as you grew up as an inner child, what did you feel?
I felt a lot of things. I felt anger, depressed, not enough at times, just kind of the way of the world. And it goes back to when my parents got a divorce when I was 8. That was when my world shattered. That was when all of the truth that I had believed in just went out the door. And I got a good dose of reality, I always say. Um, my father is passed now, and I won't speak ill on him, but he was the perfect example of the man, the father, the husband that I did not want to be in life. And we go back talking about how you really learn from the bad versus the good sometimes. And that was my whole childhood growing up. And so from 0 to, 18, 20 years old, my identity was everything that my dad wasn't. And in reality, that's not the best mindset, because that's very limiting. If I'm everything my dad's not, then how am I going to go further than that? Right?
Right.
Because you just are basing your life on someone else's in a different sense. And so I lived in this constant state of depression, anxiety, because my dad was always telling me to be more like my brother, have more friends like him, be a better person like him, get involved with church more. And so I had that. And I was just kind of an angry kid after my parents got divorced. And I just was really negative. That was one thing that I had trouble suppressing from my father, is he was a very negative human, and that rubbed off on me because I had to spend time with him. So if it was raining outside, it was my mom's fault,
Right.
right? He took no accountability for his life. And we can move on from there, but that was kind of the environment, and in my brain that I grew up in was just a lot of sadness internally, because I hadn't addressed the issues of depression that I didn't know I had. I know my father had it. I know what it looks like. And I know I felt that, but I thought it was just from a phase in life that I was going through. I didn't know it was like really something that I struggled with. So I thought, okay, as soon as we get over this divorce and we figure out a system, and, our parents are split up and we're used to it, it's going to be fine. Well, that wasn't the case. I was always just, living in the past and focusing on the negative, and not really being my true self, and listening to other people what I should do in life. Chris, you're a big body, you should be a football player, you should go to college and it'll give you a scholarship. And it's just living in a lie is the best way to put it. And I didn't know who I truly was, or even ask myself a question, until I was a full grown adult. And really, I didn't start figuring that out until we met, because you were always questioning me with those hard topics, even from like way, way back. Like, you're a big question asker, and you will slap somebody in the face with a deep question as soon as you meet them. So, you were the first person that really, like, kind of nudged me and like really poked at a few things in my life that I really had never addressed before. To ask yourself some questions of like, who are you really? And, your past isn't who you are now. And you're definitely not the opposite of someone who you don't look up to. So who do I need to look up to? And that's where I was really, as a child, is I didn't know who to look up to, because it wasn't my dad. I definitely looked up to my mom, but she wasn't living the life that I wanted to one day. And all the other people that I thought I wanted to look up to weren't actually happy. They just looked like that on the surface. And so I was stuck just not knowing if that was a possibility. Like, can you have the finances, be happy, and be a good person, a good dad, a good husband, all of the things? Is that possible? Because I haven't seen it done yet.
Facts.
And that's a really hard place to be as a kid when you're thinking about all these big things, because, a mentor, someone to look up to, is really important, whether it's a friend, a family member, or just, a Bible study leader. For me, that was my mentor. I was a part of a small men's Bible study group focused on athletes when I was in high school. It was my good friend Garrett Estes' uncle, Mark Keldorf.
Mm-hmm.
And that man changed my life because he was a living example of all of those things that I just talked about. And from that moment forward, I had hope because all the time before that was just a lack thereof. And I realized that I can achieve these things and it is possible to be a good person, have the financials, and live the life you want to live, and also be a God-fearing man, which is not necessarily something I was focused on at the time. But I saw how he was living and how he had turned all of his struggles into like positives, and how he's able to help kids, and like he's bringing 30 kids into his home that are tearing it up and playing games and being reckless, and he's feeding them and he's pouring into them for no reason other than to share the word of God and help the younger generation. Like, that is the man I want to be one day. And that changed my life forever because, again, it provided hope. And I think a lot of kids out there that maybe have some traumatic experiences from their childhood is usually just stems back from a lack of hope. And that is a really, really scary place to be, because when you lose hope, some bad thoughts start to creep in your mind. And especially when you deal with mental health, it can go too far if it goes unnoticed and you don't reach out. And so I will say, majority of my childhood, I kind of just took it on my chest and didn't really talk about things much. And my brother didn't quite understand me as a person at the time. And it was really frustrating whenever I would have these deep conversations with him. And so I just internalized everything, and it got really dark. That showed 18 years later or 20 years later when I was in my job, and I was just, those really scary thoughts crept into my mind for the first time. And it was never something that I wanted to act on, but it was something that popped into my brain for once. And it shook me.
Well, I mean, it's like, dang, I just lived all these years for what?
Exactly.
That's not a easy thing to talk about. And obviously I appreciate you always, being open about it now, but it's not easy. I think the one thing out of that is finding someone that trusts your vulnerability, like me and you have.
Right.
You don't need to tell that story to everyone.
And that understands you too.
Or want to understand you.
There's
a lot of people that want to understand a situation for a specific advantage. We've gone through that a lot.
Yeah.
But actually taking the responsibility and accountability to learn Chris as Chris, not who I think Chris should be. But the inner child side of things, man, I think is super important, the way that you broke that down, because I think everybody can relate to that at some point in their life. And I think it comes back to me as like comparison. You either compared to old version of your dad, or you compare to Mr. Keldorf. You have two options. You have two choices of like what's healthy for you, right? And I think when you see that and you have the hope, it provides you to see, oh, I can do this, right? But from society, success and happiness is big house, lots of money, fancy car, hot wife. But we didn't know anything else. Right?
Yeah.
And even Mr. Keldorf has all those things.
Yeah, I wanted everything I didn't have. So, I mean, even after high school, I still had the wrong mindset. We had a talk one time in the kitchen.
2:30 in the morning.
I want the big house. I want the nice car. I want a lot of money in the bank. Like, that's what I was focused on. And where was it taking me?
Well, it pushed you to have a good job and secure your life and financial stability in certain spaces, right? I just grew up in the space where I saw it all. My dad had all the money. I saw him miserable. I saw my mom miserable. I saw happiness too, don't get me wrong. But when you can see something in a 10,000 square foot house that turned in from a house versus a home, it makes it very simple. Because I walked into your house and I felt like a home, even though it's 16th of the size.
Yeah, so small.
But it was a home.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing in the inner child is everybody's gone through something different in their life, but having a community, and that's what we're building. What we're building is, mental health, physical health, entrepreneurship, but more of a family where you have a home where you can come express yourself and have that safe place, and then be open-minded and share your story that helps this person. And like, I don't know, that's why I think it's so important that we're doing what we're doing, because it's true value of what we believe is the main priority of life, which is people.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you filter the right person to be vulnerable with? Like, what are some signs you should look for in a new or existing relationship to where this is someone that I can trust and feel safe with in being vulnerable?
Well, I think vulnerability I think it goes back to truth and honesty and being able to have that identity where no matter what I tell, I'm going to have to be okay.
Mm.
You either get to that point, which is a very dangerous place to be in a good way. Like when I can share my vulnerability and you can't take anything or stab me in the back with it, I'm clear who I am.
Right.
That's the most gangster play you can have.
Unshakable.
Unshakable. That's where I feel like I'm getting into right now is like, I'm okay sharing all the my baggage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or my trauma. And if you don't like it and you don't align with it, I don't feel this weird feeling no more. Right? It is very difficult in a romantic relationship because it can get used against you.
Yeah.
For me, that has happened to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like being vulnerable in certain spaces with certain people is, I don't need a solution. I need to vent, or I need a vent. I need a solution, not vent, right? And I go to different people for different things, right? Like you, I know where I stand with you because you've created an open space for me. That hey, this fucked up situation happened. What I appreciate the most in our friendship is honesty. The people that love you the most are going to be honest with you.
Right.
I don't have time to entertain people or give attention to for people that want to go to the person that tells them what they want to hear.
Right.
Bye. I don't got time for that because those aren't your friends. Those aren't your family. My family is going, hey, I want the best for you. And I'm also going to tell you the truth. And I'm going to realign you back on the track that you need to get on versus, do whatever you're going to do just to make you feel happy.
That's real
Sorry.
growth. Yeah.
Right. And so I think filtering vulnerability is a very, very difficult thing to have.
Yeah.
But I think when you, and where I am right now, is I want to see how people react and respond when shit hits the fan.
Like when you say that, is it like in their own life or in a situation that involves both people?
Both. I think, since we're talking about who we share vulnerability with, I think we talk about it as together.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like, okay, how does this person handle a relationship? And then all of a sudden, bad situation happens. Does this person move out of love, or does this person move out of anger? Do they move out of jabs? Are they constantly causing chaos? Are they providing solutions? Are they providing peace in my life? And so I think once you establish one, continuing to give them an open space where they're vulnerable, and then if you be vulnerable and it gets used against you, then you're probably going to back up.
Right. Yeah.
So that's your sign.
So you got to wear your heart on your sleeve. You got to just be vulnerable, but then see how people react and where they go from there is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm in a position in my life where if I'm vulnerable and you use it against me, it doesn't matter to me. I know exactly who I am right now, where I stand in my 2 feet. I have very clear conscience of that. I know that I'm a good person and I have no ill intent to hurt anyone. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. Do I give grace to myself? Absolutely. Do I give grace to others? Absolutely. But I'm not going to be disrespected. And I don't have to entertain someone if they do disrespect me. I just continue to move how I need to move and love how I need to love. And that's kind of how I move.
Yeah, I think now you just kind of live a life where you're committing to extreme vulnerability in a sense where if everyone knows most everything about you and your most trying times, your most traumatic experiences, the times you weren't proud of yourself, what can they really use against you after they know it all?
It's the Eminem effect.
Exactly.
It's the Charlie Sheen effect. Do I hate Charlie Sheen? No. Motherfucker rocked his life. Yeah. And he was open about it. I'm like, I have a lot of respect for that.
I do too. Yeah.
Right? But when you sit there and act like you're this big, amazing person that does all these things, then you come back and something comes out that's not good in the world, like, then I have no respect for you.
It's just,
but if you just are who you are, like Post Malone is Post Malone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
always has been.
But I don't need to pretend to be a bunch of different people, because then that's when people are going to come back to me going, you're not this person.
It's also going to drain you because it's too hard.
Exactly. So yeah, I think once you have to go through so much stuff to really identify exactly who you are, to be vulnerable, whether people use it against you or not. It's been the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life.
Well, I'm proud of you for doing it. I see you stepping into it, and I see you leading fearlessly, posting, speaking, and it's working. I will say, if you don't feel it already, it's working.
Well, I think this is a good thing to talk about. Thank you, first off. But I think whether it works or not, you have to shift into things that you enjoy doing and why you're doing it. That's the thing that ends up growing.
That right there.
That is the difference between I'm doing this to get XYZ versus I'm doing this because I enjoy it. I love it. I know the potential that comes from it. And I don't care if someone sees it or not. I'm going to move how I need to move, and I'm going to let something attract me what's going to attract me. But the day that you have to do something is the day you lose it. So this is the inner child. this is a good topic to talk to your peers, your friends, your family, and try to understand them for them, right? Let go of the potential of them and let them feel, let them be understood. Give them a space, give them grace, because we have not lived a perfect life between anyone. There's no reason to point a finger at anybody. There's no reason to get upset with anybody. At the end of the day, all we really need to do is love on each other. Obviously, if someone does something absolutely ridiculous, you have to handle the situation.
No, no, it's still leading with love. Like God calls us to do everything in love. As hard as it sounds, as hard as it is, we got to lead with love every single time.
Hardest thing you'll ever do in life, right? But we're human beings being human. And our big ask with the inner child is just go hug somebody. Every little kid needed a hug. And I think no matter how old we get, we're still that inner child and we still need a hug. So that's the inner child. And going to the next one.